Hello, my dear viewers, or listeners, I should say. Welcome to Beauties and Beasts, a podcast of all things Beauty and the Beast. And boy, have I had a hell of a weekend. I went through job interview hell. My cat caught a bird that got injured, but thankfully flew away. We got Disney Plus finally. So yeah, lots happened. And I'd have to say that everything right now in the world is pretty depressing. We all make plans, but unexpected events throw a wrench in them. Things we can't control, like COVID-19 spreading, unjust acts like the murder of George Floyd by the police, getting laid off from jobs we love through no fault of our own. But even when things go unplanned, they turn out for the better. Even though we're social distancing and things are incredibly different now, people are still banding together in other ways to help each other in this pandemic and fight against social injustice. And there are moments of hope, like the possibility of Kamala Harris becoming America's first Black Indian woman vice president. People changing their supposed destinies predetermined by society. Which is why, for this week, I'll be covering Mattel Entertainment's, in association with Netflix, Ever After High, an animated series about a high school attended by the children of all your favorite fairy tale characters. Like many young ones in society, these fairy tale kids have expectations to follow in their parents' footsteps, until Raven Queen, daughter of the evil queen from Snow White, changes everything by choosing to follow her own destiny. This show has many Beauty and the Beast themes, along with other fairy tales, from romantic pairings to forbidden friendships to reformed/misunderstood villains. Ever After High, or Disney's Descendants, but better. Yeah, I said it. The Disney fanatic doesn't like Descendants. I'll explain later. But before I begin, I'd like to thank my $5 plus patrons, Anime Guy 1101, Arvin Joshua Rocks 15, TyrannosaurusVenom, and my newest Phantom Lover patrons, longtime stream donator Bella PinkSavage, and another longtime fan, aravivelez. I hope I said it right. Also known as Sega Sister. Thank you for joining us. I see Bella PinkSavage is in the chat right now saying that she doesn't blame me for not liking Descendants so much. You too, howdy everyone, Bella says. Alright, so you too can become a patron today by clicking the button that says Become a Patron, or following the link patron.podbean.com/beautiesandbeasts. That's patron.podbean.com/beautiesandbeasts. You can get access to new episodes early, access to private streams like I'm doing right now, complimentary gifts, access to bonus episodes and YouTube videos before anybody else, and the latest perk, access to patron-only polls. For just $3 a month, you can vote on future topics for the podcast, including topics of the mini-series Writing Beauties, my series on writing tips. Since I don't always know exactly what to cover next, you patrons can help me decide, and I will announce the winner of this week's poll at the end of the stream. Or, if you want to support me in another way, buy my merchandise on Redbubble. I have t-shirts, stickers, face masks, over 60 different products. My latest is an intersectionalist design with the slogan, "More than just black and white," for the LGBTQ and Black communities. Also, I will soon have some new Halloween merchandise available, as the time to order Halloween stuff is now if you want it in time for the holidays. We may be staying inside this year and not going out trick-or-treating or to big costume parties, but that doesn't mean we can't still celebrate. Just go to my Redbubble shop at DisneyFanatic23 at .redbubble.com. That's DisneyFanatic23.redbubble.com. And hey, Halloween is the perfect holiday to wear masks. Just saying. One more thing. August 30th marks the second anniversary of Beauties and Beasts. So, I will be holding a very special Q&A live stream open to everyone. I haven't decided on the time yet, as I may or may not be returning to work at the movie theater if the reopen date doesn't change. So, yeah. And Bella PinkSavage says, ooh, can't wait. But even so, anyone can attend this stream, but anyone who's not a patron that wants questions read or comments read aloud, will have to donate a minimum of 5 gold beans. Otherwise, you can pledge as a patron at minimum of $1 a month, which is a small price to pay for an infinite number of questions and comments to be read on public streams. But I'd like to thank all of you who've been able to donate what little you can or buy what little you can in my time of temporary unemployment. It's been very helpful. I mean, thanks to you, I was able to meet the minimum royalty payment on Redbubble for like at least 4 months now. So thank you for that. Here's a clap for all of you. All right, so now on to the topic. I must ask the patrons in the chat to keep the comments relevant to the topic at hand and save any other questions or comments for after the discussion. So, Ever After High was first streamed on Netflix and the Ever After High YouTube channel in 2013. The series was based on Mattel's latest line of dolls, similar to Monster High but with fairy tale characters instead of monsters. There are also some books adding more to the characters' stories, which you can get from Barnes & Noble or your local bookstore, but I'm going to focus mainly on the animated series. The Netflix series consists of 5 seasons, which are really multi-chapter specials, with the exception of the Spring Unsprung special, which is just about an hour long. And the Ever After High YouTube channel has a great number of accompanying shorts of about 2 to 3 minutes each, much like Hasbro's Equestria Girls. Yep, high school themed dolls got really popular in the early 2010s. Anyway, because the series contains many characters and a great number of subplots, and some don't seem to make sense if you haven't seen the YouTube shorts, so I will focus on parts that have to do with Beauty and the Beast themes and the relevant relationships. Let's start with Raven Queen and Apple White's tale. A spoiler warning, by the way, if you haven't seen the full series. The series begins on Legacy Day when students of Ever After High pledge their destinies to follow in their parents' footsteps by signing the Storybook of Legends. Raven Queen is the daughter of the evil queen from Snow White's tale, and she is feared by everyone because she is destined to be the next evil queen. Despite that, Raven is good-natured and loyal to her friends. So, despite the warnings from Headmaster Milton Grimm, one of the Grimm brothers, that her story will end if she doesn't sign the book, she refuses to do it, and when she refuses, she doesn't disappear like Headmaster Grimm said. Her actions inspire other students to follow their own destinies, separating the student body into royals and rebels. The royals are the ones who follow their parents' destinies, most of them being princes and princesses. And the rebels, well, rebel and just go against their fairy tale destiny. Not everyone is happy with Raven's choice to not be evil, which you'd think more people would support if someone decided, no, I'm not going to be evil. Snow White's daughter, Apple White, actually wants Raven to follow her destiny because if she never poisons Apple, Apple will never get her prince and her happily ever after. Raven and Apple's relationship is one I want to talk about first. Despite them being predestined enemies, they are actually quite good friends and roommates. Apple sees the relationship as frenemies, and she sees it as her duty to put Raven on the evil path. Now, despite knowing she actually is a pretty good person. Sort of like a Beauty and the Beast friendship, the most popular girl in school with the social pariah, not from looks because they're both actually really pretty, but from their parentage and how others treat them. What is interesting about Apple is that even though she's destined to be a damsel in distress, rescued by a prince, and essentially get married and become a queen, she's shown to be quite logical and intelligent, even good at science, whereas Raven is creative, rebellious, and thinks outside the box. And when trouble comes their way, they prove to be a pretty good tag team. Okay, I kinda sorta ship him. I know Raven goes out with Dexter Charming, the geeky son of Prince Charming, and they're both so awkward that it's cute, but I just can't help the chemistry Raven also has with Apple. And frankly, they would have made more sense in a later chapter, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Despite how well Apple and Raven get along, they cannot seem to agree on the matter of their destinies. Raven thinks Apple is being selfish, only thinking of what she wants and not what others want. Because according to the Destiny, Apple would get a prince and become queen, and Raven would just get arrested and be imprisoned forever like her mother. I mean, really, who wants that kind of destiny? And Raven's kind of right. Though from Apple's perspective, she thinks if people don't follow their destinies, their endings will be bad. Because she is afraid of the future, as most people are. It's for the same reason that she doesn't approve of her friend Ashlyn Ella's relationship with Hunter Huntsman. Because as Cinderella's daughter, Ashlyn's a royal and Hunter, as the son of the huntsman, is a rebel. It's a huge character flaw in Apple, which is kept consistent throughout the series. And it can make her slightly annoying and unlikable, but in real life, this is the mindset of a lot of people who are prejudiced. That when they show prejudice, they're really just projecting their fear of the unknown onto other people. It is sad but true. Some people are simply prejudiced because they have their own underlying problems or insecurities. Like how for a time I was homophobic because I didn't understand my own sexuality. So, as annoying as Apple can be sometimes, I really commend Mattel for creating a character as realistic and layered as that. Apple's insecurities eventually do take a dark turn when Raven, using her magic to help others, starts becoming more popular at school. And Snow White learns this and urges Apple to gain her popularity back. So, shows that even successful parents can put pressure on their children. Determined to get her fairy tale back on track, Apple ends up freeing the evil queen from her mirror prison, thinking Raven's mother will help make her evil. And this just leads to the whole school getting conquered by the evil queen, which is the wake-up call Apple needs to see the consequences of her actions. Wake-up call. Oops, too early for that pun. And the evil queen, out of spite, decides to grant Apple her wish by getting Fable Thorn, daughter of Sleeping Beauty's dark fairy, to slip Apple a poisoned apple. And let me know when you lose track of all these character names. There are a lot of characters in here. When Apple falls into her magically induced coma, everyone expects Daring Charming, older son of Prince Charming, to be the one to kiss her. Okay, really, really big spoiler warning because it's a very major plot point. But his kiss doesn't wake her. It's the kiss of, wait for it, dun 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 dun, Darling Charming, his sister, that wakes Apple up. Okay, so she was performing mouth to mouth, but still, the princess woke the princess. Mattel was pretty daring, excuse me for that pun, to do this. The problem is that once it happens, it is never brought up again. That Darling kissed Apple awake, practically. At least talk about why her kiss worked, and why Darling, who had almost no interaction with Apple, and was the one to wake her up. I mean, why not Raven? Even if it was just a friendship kiss. I mean, that's true love too. Bella PinkSavage says right here, low-key gay. Yeah, I think Mattel was trying to be very subtle about it and try to get past the censors if they passed it off as mouth to mouth. But the fact is they don't talk about it. Like, was it just meant to be a mouth to mouth from a friend, or was there something else implied there? Yeah, I'm glad Mattel did this, but they didn't elaborate on it and made it way too ambiguous to be, full-on LGBT representation, though still appreciated. And as Bella PinkSavage says, oh man, that sucks. But back to the story. So Raven ends up joining her mother to save her friends, and she frees her teachers. And then Apple comes in and they defeat the evil queen, and Apple decides it's better if they all let their destinies happen on their own time, whatever they may be, and not force them to happen. Yeah, I'm skipping a lot, but like I said, so much happens in this series that we'd be here all day if I did a full breakdown of the entire plotline. Anyway, Darling waking up Apple leads to the most obvious Beauty and the Beast relationship in the show. And in the 4-part special and the last season, Epic Winter. So Daring Charming, a heroic yet vain prince who loves admiring himself in mirrors, has a bit of an identity crisis after his kiss fails to wake up Apple, even though they were so sure they were going to end up together. And makes things really awkward between them. He had been so sure that being Apple's prince was his destiny, and now that that's not true, he doesn't know what to do with himself. He ends up confiding in Rosabella Beauty, daughter of Beauty and the Beast, a lover of animals and a very considerate and kind friend. She suggests that, since he is so determined to be a hero, he should try doing things for others rather than himself. Of course, he's too busy looking at his own reflection to really listen to what she's saying. Meanwhile, the Snow King is cursed by his servants with kindness blindness, releasing an eternal winter in the middle of summer. Call it a Frozen ripoff, but remember Frozen was based off of the Snow Queen. When he arrives at Ever After High, he commands Daring to tend to his sleigh, and Daring, being totally oblivious and full of himself, says, "Oh, do it yourself, I'm busy." And the Snow King goes, "Oh, you beastly boy!" and then transforms him into a big, furry snow beast. Rosabella finds Daring panicking, like, "This is terrible! Who wants to be an ugly beast?" And Rosabella goes, my dad's a beast?" Daring tries to make the best of it, kind of a mix of denial and bargaining in his levels of stress. "It's okay, I'm still handsome, just in a more furry way." And as he walks through the school halls trying to own it, no one's really scared of him. More like, "Hey, what happened to you?" Or, "Oh my gosh, who's this new creature I've never seen before?" And Daring's really the only one who calls himself hideous. So it's not the others who need to see past his exterior. He's the one who needs to look inside of himself, find his own self-worth. After losing his destiny and his handsomeness, he feels like that he is left with nothing. I think they call that zero personality. And Daring goes to Apple for help, thinking maybe this was their destiny in the first place, that it's her kiss that is supposed to save him rather than the other way around. And then he'll be a prince again, and they can be happy because he's handsome again. Not only does the kiss not work, but he ends up licking her. And that's the last we ever hear of Apple. Seriously, I'm bummed that Apple and Raven, the main characters, were barely in Epic Winter. But I guess their story arcs were kind of finished. Still, I'd like to know, how did Apple deal with Darling waking her up? Seriously, tell me what happened then. So Daring confides once again in Rosabella, who's happy to lend an ear. And they end up joining their friends in a quest to find the roses of the seasons to cure the Snow King's curse. Right, because that's happening too. As the Rose of Spring is at Rosabella's castle, same Rose from the story that resulted in Beauty offering herself up to the Beast. Along the journey, Daring and Rosabella grow a lot closer. She even helps get a splinter out of his paw, classic lion and mouse trope. Because she's also used to tending after other animals in the forest. And he asks her why she doesn't seem to be bothered by his beastly state. And she's like, "Well, don't you know my fairy tale story?" Her mother saw past her father's beastly appearance, so Rosabella sees the good in everyone despite what they look like. And Daring goes, "I like your story." And then later, when Rosabella's skis break, Daring offers to carry her. And she goes, "You actually thinking of someone other than yourself?" And Daring says, "Why no? I just thought you'd like to hear about my riveting heroic exploits." Yeah, by then it's more like cute banter. She laughs it off. Bella PinkSavage says, "Wow, there's a lot of shipping." I know. You know, I think Mattel's a lot braver with shipping than Hasbro is. Just saying. And then, during a dream sequence caused by Sleeping Beauty's spindle, Daring is in the woods in his beast form surrounded by wolves. But Rosabella stands up for him, and she tames the wolves, indicating that Daring sees her as his hero, a change from the role that was expected of him. And in the dream, they share a kiss. It's a dream, but still a kiss. But what turns Daring back into a prince is not a kiss or true love. When Fable gets in trouble with the fairy mob, and to sum it up, she has to give the roses of the seasons or face 200 years of servitude. Since they need the roses to save Ever After High and cure the Snow King's curse, Daring offers to take Fable's place of 200 years of labor, just as Beauty had offered her life for a rose all those years ago. The mob fairies agree, and it turns out if anyone offers out of their own free will, the contract is null and void. Yeah, kind of a cop-out, but still, it was an essentially selfless act, and one enough to break Daring's curse and turn him back into a prince, and he and Rosabella end up together. They're not the main couple, but they're still pretty cute. Another thing I appreciate about the show is it not only transcends female stereotypes, showing them as strong, confident, funny, brave, and smart, but it transcends male stereotypes as well. The guy who starts out vain and self-centered and slightly misogynistic ends up humbling himself, learning that he can be more than just a pretty face, and that being a hero isn't just about facing danger or conquering beasts, but putting others before yourself and putting your own self at risk to save others. Although the relationship with Rosabella, I will admit, kind of seemed to come out of nowhere at first, after Daring had already shared some romantic moments with Cerise Hood and Lizzie Hartz. Although those moments, I think, ended with him respecting those girls more than falling in love. I think those two instances just further contributed to his overall character development. This show also showed the unhealthy way some people can view relationships. I see Bella PinkSavage thinks, oh, that's nice. But yes, Daring had tried entering a relationship with Apple because he thought that it was his destiny, not because he really cared about her in that way. He had the mindset that he could save her, and later when he turns into a beast, he has the mindset that she can save him. On both counts, it wasn't due to any genuine affection, but both their desires to be in a steady relationship, thinking that these are their destinies, that this is all they're good for. But just as well, the kisses don't work in either situation because neither party would have been happy. And Rosabella, when she does get together with Daring Charming eventually, she didn't go out of her way to save him or change him into something that he wasn't. She just gave him friendly advice like a good friend. And from that, their fondness for each other grew. All Daring really needed was someone who treated him like a friend and didn't care if he was handsome or ugly. He views Rosabella as his hero, but in a different way. That she brings out the best in him and inspires him to be less selfish. That's how healthy relationships work. That you don't intentionally enter the relationship to change a person, if at all. It just happens naturally as that person brings out that better part of yourself that's always been there. There are other unconventional relationships in the show, such as Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf getting married and having Cerise Hood and Ramona Bad Wolf. The Prior having to hide her wolf ears and speed so their parents' relationship can remain hidden. And as I said before, Cinderella's daughter dating a son of a huntsman, aka not a prince. Based on everyone else's reactions to Ashlyn and Hunter and Red and the Bad Wolf keeping their relationship secret, it serves as a metaphor for unconventional relationships in the real world. I mean, obviously we don't have interspecies relationships and not so much royal versus commoner. Just look at some of the royal marriages we've had today. But there have been other relationships that still struggle even when they are made legal. Interracial, interfaith, same-sex. My own parents, Catholic and Protestant, which a couple decades ago would have been just completely taboo. The ones society don't normally plan for us, as some of the prejudice is out of fear that our loved ones will face hardships if they marry someone who is completely different from them, or of the same sex, or they believe in something different, that they will face the pressure of society and it will be too much for them. And that'll be too much for their kids too. Historically, relationships like this were sometimes kept hidden entirely. Even today, biracial kids can feel pressured to hide a part of their heritage so that they can fit in with a certain crowd. But in the end, all that should matter is what we want and feel. Another point of this show is that some of the antagonists in here are also not clear-cut totally evil. I mean, some of them do really, really bad things, but they also have layers to them. Like Fable Thorne, she just doesn't want to be left out, and that's why she ends up playing tricks on everybody and messing up with their good time. But several times she ends up fixing her own messes and tries to be at least a little bit better. And the Evil Queen, the Evil Queen is kind of as far as evil goes in this show, but at the heart of it, she just wants her daughter to look up to her, and is kind of hurt when Raven just doesn't give her any respect or affection. And even some good characters like Applewhite are shown to have a dark side. That just goes to show nobody's perfect, and nobody's 100% good or 100% evil. We all have layers. I love the series as a whole, even if it did get canceled abruptly and it was left with a few loose ends that still need tying up. Like, please explain the same-sex kiss / mouth-to-mouth moment, please. And what about the Raven, Dexter, Cupid love triangle? Also, does Cerise Hood ever release the secret that she is the daughter of Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf? Ugh. And sometimes, I will say, it is hard to keep track of so many characters that seem to just pop out of nowhere, unless you watch the YouTube shorts. Like, we didn't know until, about season 4 that, Cerise actually has an older sister who's saying that she is the daughter of the Big Bad Wolf. But where was she on the whole family picnic? But yeah, and Bella PinkSavage. I forgot half their names. Sexty. Yeah, fair enough. I have to keep a list sometimes. But I do love the creativity put into it, visually and story-wise. Even if it is made to sell dolls, they give them very, very detailed looks and dresses. Which is probably why so many new characters will just pop up out of nowhere, so they can make new dolls and keep the novelty of the toy line. I guess that's what's expected of toy-based shows. I mean, look at My Little Pony. And I love how this show plays with fairy tales from Grimm, Anderson, and much, much more, like the story of the boy who stuck his finger in the dam to keep it from leaking. And the girls have different personalities, and they're shown to be strong, smart, funny, and even of different skin tones, so showing that any girl can be a princess, no matter what they look like. And as I said, it transcends male stereotypes too. Boys can be awkward and sensitive, clumsy, and sometimes can be rescued by a girl, but that doesn't make them any less manly. I do wish the body types were more diverse, but since this is a toy show, I'll let it slide. And, the characters all have to have a certain look in order to sell the dolls. But if you do like My Little Pony, I know I do have a lot of brony listeners, I'm sure you will enjoy this too. I definitely think Ever After High is way better than Descendants, which has a similar premise of fairy tale kids going to high school. Bella PinkSavage says, preach! Okay, 1, Mattel did it first. It did, I think, a year before Descendants. 2, it's much more creative with names and appearances. Like, Maleficent's daughter is named Mal, the Evil Queen's daughter is Evie, Jafar's son is Jay. Okay, you're just taking the first syllable of every name and just making a cool, short, hip name. 3, while Ever After High creates their own universe based on fairy tales, in which they can take liberties on, Descendants takes characters that they have already created with their own canon, but they don't keep it consistent to how they already are. Like, half those villains that we see are supposed to be dead. How are they still alive and have kids? I'm pretty sure Maleficent was stabbed to death and the evil queen fell off a cliff, and Jafar eventually died too. Oh yes, and Bella PinkSavage. Belle and Beast also were out of character. That I was going to bring that up too. Definitely. I mean, they were prejudiced against the villain kids. I'm like, oh come on, Belle. At least you you fell in love with a Beast who everyone thought was a villain. Come on, your son Ben was better at being inclusive than you were. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, thank you. I was going to bring that up. But at least Ever After High was free to create their own history with the fairy tales and explain how the Charming family was unrelated to the other Charmings. I did wonder about that at first. If a Prince Charming married Snow White, how can there be an Apple White and another Prince Charming next generation who are supposed to get together? It turns out they're from another family. Just clearing that up. It's not incest, okay? And also, Jafar is not a thief in Aladdin. That's Aladdin's trade. Why is Jafar a thief? And seriously, what is with Mulan baking cookies with her daughter? I mean, can you see Mulan baking cookies? I know we don't actually see Mulan. We only see her daughter talk and hear her talking about her. But it sounds like that the badass warrior was made into a stereotypical housewife. Really? You expect me to believe that these are your legit Disney characters that you've already created? They're totally different. I could go on and on about how much I despise Descendants, which I will probably continue in a later episode because despite how much I dislike it, it does have Beauty and the Beast themes that need to be talked about, which means I'll probably have to watch the other 2 movies. Oh, darn it. Oh, yeah. But Ever After High, overall... Bella PinkSavage says good luck. Thank you for that. But Ever After High has an overall good message. You don't always have to do what is expected from you, whether it's from your parents or from societal expectations. You can forge your own destiny. But sometimes choosing your own path and following others' expectations can be the same, and that's okay too. Like with Lizzie Hearts wanting to be the next Queen of Hearts like her mother, or Kitty Cheshire wanting to cause chaos like her mother, the Cheshire Cat. We can inherit our parents' company if that's what we want to do. If we like the work that our parents do, and we want to do it for them and ourselves, or we can be stay-at-home moms in the girls' case, as long as it's our choice. My mom inspired my feminist side, but she always stresses to me that she didn't become a stay-at-home mom because of societal norms. But when she had me, she just didn't want to be away from home. That it was just her choice to stop working and just spend her time with me. Sometimes our futures aren't what we expect. Daring Charming was still a prince, just it turned out that he was from a different story. And Bella PinkSavage says, "Aw, same with my mom." Yeah, don't diss on stay-at-home moms. They can do that if they want to, just as much as they can work. They can work if they want to. But we can't force our destiny to come either, or wait around for it to happen. If we just keep waiting, we're going to be waiting our whole life. We need to find out what works for us. Sometimes we may try a few things that just don't work out, and that's fine, because we might find something else that's better. Bella PinkSavage, stay-at-home moms are just as badass. Being a parent ain't easy. Yep, that is definitely true. Okay, well, that's all my notes on the main points I wanted to cover about the series. Any questions from the chat here? While you're doing that, I'll take a quick water break. Remember, if you want to join future streams and be able to ask questions in the chat, then pledge to the $10 plus tier tier, and you can have the links to the private streams. Or if you want to just listen to new episodes early, you can pledge at least $5 a month. This recording will be available for $5 plus patrons afterwards. Okay, Bella PinkSavage says, I'll be looking forward to tearing Descendants apart. Okay, in that case, I'll make sure Descendants is part of the poll for next time, and you could probably vote on it. Remember, $3 plus patrons, you can vote on the polls. Bella PinkSavage, awesome. Okay, any questions on the chat? I know some common question. Probably who's my favorite character? Yeah, who's my favorite character of Ever After High? I would have to say my personal favorite had nothing to do with the relationships I just talked about. It would have to be Maddie Hatter, daughter of the Mad Hatter. It's weird. She's listed as a rebel, but, she actually does kind of want to be crazy and is crazy like her dad. And she has a fun father-daughter relationship with him. But she just says all the fun stuff. For you bronies out there, she's essentially the Pinkie Pie of the series. Always breaking the fourth wall. She can hear the narrators arguing. And she just says so many random things that just make me laugh. And like I said, girls can be funny. And that's something that has kind of been a stereotype for a while. Girls not being funny. Alright, Bella PinkSavage. I like Raven. She reminds me of my old school friend. I like her too. Some say she is kind of similar to Mal, in her story-wise, but I do love Raven. Huh. Actually, she does kind of get with the prince herself. Yeah, Raven is great. I love her friendship with Apple, even if Apple annoys me sometimes. I mean, I've said, like, they are essentially well-developed characters, even if there are a lot of characters. But remember, this is also a series that's directed towards young girls, like My Little Pony audience. But even so, I do love how it gets really deep sometimes. There's one couple that I did not talk about because they're really a very, very minor couple. Alistair Wonderland and Bunny Blanche. Alistair and Bunny, like the son and daughter of Alice in Wonderland and the White Rabbit. They're just this adorable little small couple that spring up. They're cute. Ooh, I also love Kitty Cheshire. I just like her little chaotic shenanigans. And she's another one of the kind of gray area characters that I was talking about. Alright, so before I announce the result of this week's poll and the next topic, any more questions about Ever After High or anything else about the podcast in general? Nope, I'm good. Okay. Alright, so according to the patron votes, the next topic is the Netflix anime, The Seven Deadly Sins. And good too, because I'm just finishing the final season, containing 4 relationships that fit the Beauty and the Beast trope. Certainly unconventional ones, some sad, one that's just plain creepy. Remember, if you're a patron of $3 a month or more, you can vote on future topics. Just watch out for the email with the poll link. Episode 45 will come out September 3rd, earlier if for patrons. You don't have to pledge your destiny right now, but you could still pledge to be a patron of this podcast or buy my merchandise from Redbubble. And watch out for the anniversary stream coming up on August 30th. Alright, see you next time. Thank you, Bella PinkSavage, for joining us in the chat today. And remember that only you can decide your destiny. And don't pressure others into doing or not doing something as long as that something is harmless. Think about others, not just yourself. And buy Ever After High dolls. No. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Ever After High is not a sponsor. I just love the show. All right, and have a spectacular day.